it going, everyone? Today I'm going to be doing a video discussing how to properly write an ad for Craigslist or OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace or wherever you happen to be selling your cars, because while I'm young, I have had quite a bit of experience in the last few years looking at different cars online, and now it's finally come time for me to post one of my own cars for sale. Unfortunately, this shirt kind of gives away what it is, but I'll be showing you my specific ad that I wrote in this video, and I'll kind of talk about some do's and don'ts and some certain things that you'll want to include and maybe some other things that you might not necessarily need to include in your ad. If you're a returning subscriber and you watch most of my videos, you'll know that I am unfortunately having to sell my 1995 Mazda Miata. With my Saab 9.3 ARC coming back, not only to the channel but my garage, having three cars just doesn't really make sense. So it's either the Miata, the ARC, or the Turbo X, and I've already explained why I'm going to choose to sell the Miata over the other two. You guys can check out that video up here in one of these corners. But the Miata has to go. And I've loved this car. I'm debating on whether or not I'll do one final video with it or not, but that's not what today's topic is about. So I'm gonna go ahead, share my screen with you all, and talk about, or just read through my ad and point out certain things that I've included. OfferUp. I chose OfferUp. I was probably going to end up posting on other sites if I didn't get such good responses from OfferUp. Craigslist would have been the obvious choice, but now Craigslist charges for ads. I just decided to not even bother with them. So OfferUp is what I went with. It's a great site. I've actually bought this Miata off of OfferUp, and I bought a couple other things off the site. It is a really good site. So here you can see pretty clearly, this is just kind of OfferUp's format, but $3,000, and it says the year 1995 Mazda MX-5 Miata, 136,000 miles right off the bat, as well as my location. So before I get into the actual ad itself, I want to talk about the pictures, because pictures are incredibly important. All the pictures that I'm going to show you are actually not old pictures of the car, but I didn't take any of these pictures just for the for sale ad. So when you're taking pictures of your car, you want to make sure that you have more than one, first off, and you want to make sure that you're getting every angle. So maybe one from the front quarter, the rear quarter, maybe the front, the back, at least one shot of the interior, and ideally like a shot of the engine bay too. So you'll see that I have all these included here. Here I have a shot of the driver's side and like the front quarter of the car, I guess you could say. The second picture is a rear quarter. Third picture here is just of the side, driver's side. Fourth picture is a good shot of the engine bay. The fifth picture is kind of similar to the other ones, but I figured I'd include it as well. The sixth one I talk about, you'll see the reason for including this picture in a little bit. And then the seventh picture is just a generic shot of the interior. So you really don't need a million pictures. Well, a lot of people like to post 20 pictures, which is great. You don't necessarily need to post that many. I did just realize that I didn't show any pictures of the passenger side. So if you're someone who wants to point that out to me, or someone who's selling a car that you're interested, that person should be more than willing to send you a picture of that side of the car, but I'm not trying to hide anything by not showing that side of the car. So I started off the ad. I honestly just kind of wrote this up really quick yesterday, and I slowly added a couple things to it throughout the day. But really I just started off by saying this is my 1995 Miata. I've had the car for 2 years now, and I've put around 15,000 miles on it. I have maintenance records since my ownership, and that includes things like a recent oil change, gauge cluster swap, master and slave cylinder, and more, and that the car has never let me down. So right off the bat, just kind of state general information about it. You could also include the mileage here as well, but since the ad already has that, I decided not to include it again. So the next section of my ad is really the section that I think car sellers should do much more often, is a pros and cons list, because I've seen this on a very, very few amount of ads, but it's just I think it's a great tool to use, because it shows that you're not trying to sell them something that's perfect, and you're not trying to lie to them and say, oh, this car is amazing, and then they show up and it's a total hunk of shit, you know? So pointing out flaws with the car, maybe not necessarily with a cons list, but pointing out some flaws in the car will definitely help you look more honest and not like the stereotypical used car dealer. So in my pros, I just mentioned some generic stuff, like it's got a clean title, it's unmolested, meaning that if you've ever looked for a used Miata online, you'll know that about 90% of them are on coilover, shitty wheels, or stanced out, or completely beat to trash. So I'm basically just saying that this car, while it has a couple modifications, isn't like a Ricer, you know, fart can exhaust Miata like a lot of those out there. So I also mentioned cold air conditioning because here in Phoenix, Arizona, that is critically important during these summer months. I recently did the water pumping timing belt, which is a big maintenance thing that you gotta do on these Miatas. And then I talk about the modification. So it's got a Mishimoto 3-row radiator, Mishimoto fan shroud, Mishimoto radiator hoses, NB wheels, which is second gen Miata wheels with good Toyo tires, Jeep headlights, which is why I included this picture up here, a clean interior, and no major dents or dings on the body. So that's just a few of the pros that I thought of off the top of my head. I could have listed more, but I figured I would keep it shorter rather than making it super, super long. So now moving on to the cons, and really to be truthful about the Miata, my Miata, mechanically it's a very sound car, except for the couple things I'm going to point out in the cons list. But really the big problem with that car is the cosmetics. So I said that the paint on the hood and fender has peeling clear coat. It really doesn't look the best. The front bumper is actually cracked down at the bottom. I figured I'd mention that. That's important. There's some scratches here and there. So being a 24-year-old car, it's going to have some scratches, although really nothing super significant. The front suspension does make a noise from time to time, and it has lifter tick every now and then, which is a common Miata issue. As I'm reading through my ad, I feel like I'm just advertising it to you guys. And like I said, by the time you see this video, the car, 99% chance, will be gone from my hand. So this was kind of just like a spur of the moment thing. I said, all right, I'm finally going to list it for sale. So I didn't really, I put it on my Instagram, but I didn't really shout it out to you guys on YouTube. So if you were interested in it and it's gone, which it most likely will be, I am sorry. So then I just kind of reiterate again that it's not the prettiest car, but it's mechanically sound and has been a great car for me. A little bit of cosmetic love and paint could really make this car something special. And then I mentioned that, you know, Miatas are known for being such a fun car to drive. So I just figured I would throw that in there, and it really pains me to sell it. Kind of showing that I really do like this car and I wish I didn't have to sell it. I care about it, and showing that I care about it shows that I have taken care of it and I haven't beaten it to crap over the last couple of years. So I throw in there again at the end that it's hard to find unmolested Miatas, and this is pretty much one of them, and that it can be a possible template for a project car, a track car, drift car, resto, daily, whatever you want to do to this car. You know, that's a great thing about Miatas that I've talked about before. You can do anything with them. So I figured I'd throw that in there, and I figured that people reading the ad would look at the car and see, oh yeah, I want to do that to it, and maybe give them some ideas and make them want to buy it. So then at the end I mentioned 3,000 or best reasonable offer. Message me with any more questions, and of course I added no trades, cash only. I don't want to deal with people trying to offer me their shitty pickup truck and $500 for that car, because actually, like, literally 10 minutes after I posted it, I had someone offering me a trade. So then I threw that in there at the bottom, and then someone else wanted to offer me a check. So I just figured I'd put that in there at the bottom, just so that way it's clear that I don't want whatever crappy car you're trying to sell me. I just want to sell my car, and I just want cash for it. So there are some other things that you can add to your advertisement, whether that be like including the VIN or a Carfax. I didn't have anyone ask me for the Carfax, surprisingly. You could also include how many owners the car has had. Just some more generic information about it. And really, you learn how to write an ad, not necessarily from copying exactly what I did, but just from when you're looking for cars online, you can see, oh, this was a good advertisement, and this one wasn't so good because it just said clean title, and then here's a number to text me at, and it had one picture. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? So I would say really the biggest thing couple things when you're writing an ad for your car, whether it be on Craigslist, OfferUp, or even a paid site like Bring a Trailer, is make sure you're including as much relevant information as possible. Anything major or semi-major, I made sure to include in both the pros and cons list or in the rest of the ad. I also made sure to include all the major information, like what year it is, how many miles, clean title, etc. All those major information pieces about the car. And then of course your pictures are huge. Having good pictures is what's going to make people click on the ad in the first place most of the time, because, you know, if I see a blurry picture or some picture of like one little specific spot of the car versus a nicely photographed picture of the whole car, maybe even in a nice background or setting, I'm going to click on that one that looks a lot nicer first, because your mind just kind of automatically thinks, oh, that's going to be a nicer car, even if it isn't necessarily. So pictures are huge too. I don't really have a whole lot else to say, guys. If you have any more questions or want any sort of help writing an ad for your car, go ahead and email me, DM me on Instagram. Those are both down in the description box. With that being said, that's it for today, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. I'll See y'all next time.
Check your body.